It's a quiet Friday morning in Dechmont Woods near Livingston in West Lothian, Scotland. The air is cool. The forest floor is damp with fallen leaves. A forestry worker walks along the familiar path with his dog, beginning what should be an ordinary workday. His name is Robert Taylor, and within minutes, something will happen in that forest that still has no widely accepted explanation. Robert Taylor was not known locally as a fantasist or a man prone to dramatic claims. He was 61 years old, a forestry worker employed by the Livingston Development Corporation. Colleagues described him as reliable, steady, and practical, someone accustomed to working alone in the woods. On the morning of November 9th, 1979, Taylor drove his red pickup truck into Dechmont Woods, as he had many times before. His dog ran ahead along the forest track. Then, according to Taylor's later account, he noticed something unusual in the clearing. Resting silently on the forest floor was an object he could not identify. He later described it as a large, dome-shaped craft, metallic, dark in colour, and roughly 20 feet across. The object appeared to be hovering slightly above the ground, surrounded by what he described as a smell similar to burning brakes or hot metal. Around its edge, he said, were protrusions resembling spikes or antenna-like structures. Then, Taylor reported seeing two smaller spherical objects emerge from beneath the larger craft. These smaller objects, he said, rolled or moved toward him. Each spear appeared to have spikes or rods projecting from its surface. According to Taylor, one of the spears approached and struck him. He described a sudden pulling sensation, as if something had grabbed him. Then everything went dark. When Robert Taylor regained consciousness, he found himself lying on the forest floor. His clothing was torn. His trousers were ripped down the inside seams. His body was covered in mud and debris, and he reported feeling intense pain in his legs and hips, leaving him unable to stand properly. Disorientated and injured, Taylor eventually managed to make his way back toward his truck. Later that day, he contacted police because he believed he had been assaulted. Police officers from Lothian and Borders Police arrived at the site and began investigating the area. What they documented became part of the case file. Officers reported distinct markings in the forest clearing. According to their notes, there were ladder-like impressions in the soil, as well as marks suggesting something heavy had pressed into the ground. There were also trails through the undergrowth, consistent with Taylor's claim that the smaller objects had moved toward him. Because Taylor insisted he had been attacked, police treated the case formally. An official criminal investigation report was opened. The incident was recorded under an unusual classification of assault by persons unknown. That designation still appears in records associated with the case. Medical examination confirmed that Taylor had bruising and physical injuries consistent with a fall or sudden impact. His clothing damage was also documented, but investigators could not determine what had caused the injuries. In the years that followed, various explanations had been proposed. Some researchers suggested Taylor may have suffered a medical event, such as a seizure or fainting episode. Others proposed that natural features in the woods may have contributed to the ground markings. Still others believed the encounter represents one of the most unusual close encounters reported in the United Kingdom. What gives the Livingston case its lasting presence in UFO history is the unusual combination of factors: a physical location examined by police, a documented injury, and a formal police report describing an assault. Very few UFO-related reports contain all three elements. Robert Taylor maintained his account for the rest of his life. He did not seek publicity or attempt to profit from the story. Those who knew him often remarked that he seemed deeply unsettled by what he believed had happened. Not excited, not triumphant, just disturbed. Today, the clearing in Dechmont Woods still exists. Walkers pass through the forest paths where Taylor once worked. The trees have grown, the ground has changed, but the story remains. Because on a quiet morning in 1979, a forestry worker walked into the woods expecting an ordinary day. Instead, he returned injured, with a story that investigators recorded. Witnesses struggled to interpret, and that nearly half a century later still leaves one question hanging in the cold Scottish air. What exactly happened to Robert Taylor in that forest clearing?